Yeah, I'm back on the forecast. I had problems with my phone. I got a phone call, then I had problems with my phone going back live. You know, apologize. Let the people come back on and see. Hopefully, they send the notifications back out. I know YouTube don't really send the notifications out, and that's why you need to subscribe to the Forecast Radio 242 because the next video will be coming up soon. But anyway, I left off on I left off on them selecting our leaders. We being satisfied with Kamala Harris being known as the first black woman as vice president, and we shouldn't be happy to claim those mantles when they pre-select particular people to fill those positions, right? That way they can maintain their superiority and still say, well, hey, we're liberal or we're this, we're that. The quote unquote affirmative action. But they only going to take people who fit into their framework and put them in a position to make decisions, to rule over us. And then they'll say, well, we give black people a chance, just like they did with the crime bill in 94. They said they blamed it on the black caucus when the black population was against the crime bill in 94. But the quote unquote black caucus was in favor of it. Right. And this dude literally got on there and said, I understand that racism caused their position. I'm not even going to argue racism didn't cause their position, but I don't care why. And now all of a sudden, this dude is supposed to be a savior. This dude is supposed to be the guy who's going to end racism. This is the president, the one who didn't even want integration because he didn't want his kids going into a jungle. But we put our hope in the great white hope. But what we have to realize is the great white hope has always been a failure. Right? The whole mythology behind the great white hope is about failure because they wanted to beat a black man and take the world heavyweight championship belt away from Jack Johnson. But every great white hope they had failed. Yet here we are as a people who can adapt to anything, who they needed to kidnap us to even build this. And we feel like it is our duty to uphold a system designed to destroy us. Is a sick mentality, a sick pathology, and one that has been beaten into us. And we have to learn that it's okay to have faith in one another, because as long as we don't have faith in one another, we're going to blindly accept stuff like this, like it's all good. Now, I'm pretty sure my stream is messed up, so I'm not going to be on here, and the connection is not even that good. But at the end of the day, this is a learning process. Now, if we don't learn from history, we're going to keep making the same mistakes. But the beauty of it is we can learn from history, right? We have infinite knowledge at our fingertips. right? And this stream got all messed up, so I'll probably have to come back and redo it tomorrow. But for anybody who hears this, we have infinite knowledge at our fingertips, right? Our ancestors, they had to learn out of a Jet magazine, Black history. And it wasn't like the same Jet magazine that we see today. But when we see the struggle that our ancestors been through, how they shed their blood, sweat, and tears for us to be here, no matter how hard it gets, we have to keep going. Because, the spirit of the ancestors run through us, but we have to start going back to our own, right? Instead of worshiping another society's, another person, another group of people, we have to go back to remembering our own, defining our own leaders. Because anybody who has unapologetically stood up for us has been attacked. They have come after us, right? They seek to remove them from history completely. And we have to pay attention to the organizations that is able to last, because every couple of generations they change the face of white supremacy. Now, white supremacy isn't necessarily creative, but every few generations they change the face of white supremacy, right? They change the outward structure, but it's still the same results, right? You go from legalized slavery, which is all legalized slavery, but you go from chattel slavery to the prison industrial complex. It's all the same thing. It's just a different face. Now, this is why we have to start learning how to get on code and protecting each other, because, at some point, hard times will come, because you can't get out of this system, because the system will always come for you. They always say, well, if you don't like it here, go back to Africa. Even if every Black person picked up and went back to Africa today, within 10 years, they would be over there trying to kidnap us again. Because time and time again, from the very beginning, from 1776, right? And I just start at 1776 because that's the start of America. They have come to Black people to save them. And every single time we have obliged. And time again, we get the false hope. They don't even promise you anything. They just give you a false hope. They gaslight you. They give you breadcrumbs. But the key is they starve you for decades, for centuries, for millennia. And you'll do anything for those breadcrumbs. And you develop this low self-esteem and feel like you got to fit into other groups to be a part of it. And so you say, okay, this black and brown connection. But then you get women like um, everyone getting on that Hispanic one. I think it's Eva Mendes or whatever her name is, and how she tried to discredit Black women and said, "Oh well, it was Latino women," when mostly it was the white Latino women voting for Donald Trump, just like it was mostly the white women voting for Donald Trump. They like to say, well, Obama wouldn't have been elected if it wasn't for white people. Well, which election did Obama win the white vote in? Especially the white women vote. right? Everybody else votes or doesn't vote, right? Because there is an option, because we feel like there is no other option, right? And even when people say there's a third party, well, nobody's going to vote for the third party. Well, if everybody keeps saying that, then of course. But every single group that votes or doesn't vote does it off of their best interest and nobody else's. Right? You think the Jewish people feel ashamed for getting reparations just for this COVID epidemic? When in reality, we as Black people should not even be paying taxes in this system, in this country. We are paying our killers, right, to keep us in check, to keep us in line. How is that any different from a sharecropper who, when you go to your 9 to 5 job, when the person who works less hours, does less work, but makes more money than you, and then they take so much money from you, we should be mad about that. And that money goes to fund your oppression. But we don't even have enough self-esteem to even talk about those kind of issues, because we have to put our cape on for every other group. If every other group feels any kind of oppression, why is it the first thing they do is look at Black people? Because they know, even though everybody tries to deny, and especially deny their role in the position that we're in. But every single time they feel oppressed, the first thing they do is come and get Black people to be their cheerleaders, and we grab our pom poms and play right along. And then when they get to where they need to get, they just drop us along. And we just play right into their hands. Right? Every group that wasn't considered white in America, the Irish wasn't considered white. So what did they do? They dressed up in blackface and started the minstrel shows along with, Jewish actors until they got accepted as white. But they back political figures that made sure that happened. We don't even do that because we don't think that our own ice can be cold. And there's something wrong if everybody sees us as the face of oppression, but we don't even think that we deserve to make any kind of demands for our vote. It should be worth something, but it's worthless if you give it away and you're scared to even ask for anything. If you're satisfied with just getting one old white man out for another, that's more or less a waste of voting. Now, when you say our ancestors died for it, they died for liberation. They died for freedom and deciding which kind of racism we prefer is not liberation. And it's even worse that we prefer the covert style of racism, where we're okay with them smiling in our face. They can be racist if they want, just don't, show me it. We'll even be willing to vote in. What's going on, time to work? We'll be even willing to vote in the very thing that we protesting against. But that goes to show you, when your enemy controls when, where, how, and what you protest, then you don't really have any power. But the moment you start organizing and targeting specific areas, then they'll start getting the message. Alarms will start ringing. But as long as we saying, okay, well, we just got to get one racist out because he's just too racist. But this other one is just as racist, but he smiles in our face at least. They know you're still babies politically. We're still babies politically. And it's not to be down on us because what other group in history has gone through hundreds of years of having a slave mentality beaten into us, having our greatness, our ability to read, our language, everything about us beaten out of us? Right? Jamestown syndrome, Christopher Columbus syndrome, anything like. But far too many of us suffer from severe Stockholm syndrome, and this showed us how quickly that we will divide with each other, right? Over, like I said, two old white men, and we're fighting each other over them when neither of them will piss on fire to help us. Because literally they set us on fire and we're running around with our heads with our hair on fire, but we don't have enough sense to ask for anything. Right? No other group in America has had, well, other groups have had policies to hurt them economically, but not to the degree that we have. They have literally set out to make sure that we starve economically from the beginning to the end. Right. Yeah, some dude in Europe somewhere. But this is the whole reason that we have to, start putting our petty differences to the side because the enemy understands they are really the minority, even though we call ourselves a part of a minority. And even that hurts us. But white supremacy is the minority. But when they learn how to divide and conquer, then they can stay in control. And the point is, no other group is still demonized legally. But if you call that out, you're a radical. And you have to apologize for saying that you want something for black people. And even during like the election, other black people will tell you, well, it's not time to ask for it. Well, it's been 400 years. When is it time? Because 4 years from now is not going to be time either. And believe me, as long as your enemy is controlling the narrative, it'll never be time. Because why would your enemy ever give that up? And even the so-called most liberal person that like Martin Luther King said, they're the most dangerous one because they don't really want to see this system destroyed. And you think they're on your side, but at the end of the day, we don't have any friends. We are all we got. And, as far as, us losing connection over, what I'm saying, this election right here, like, first of all, you need to make up with your people. But if you was one of those people saying, well, you better go out and vote for Biden, you better not let anything go. You better start putting the pressure on him right now. But the thing is, as black people, if we were to go by definitions, but nothing in white supremacy goes by the definition. But by definition, I would think black people would be more so Republicans, because the definition would be a smaller government. Now, Republicans don't want the government in their business until it comes to you. Then they want the government to make sure you stay out of wherever you're at, right? They want the government to make sure people get kicked out of the country, right? So they're not really about smaller government. But we should damn sure not want this government in our business. Now, of course, the problem is, in America, white supremacy, nothing is what it says it is. But in actuality, everything is exactly what it says it is. Because in their laws, they've always used language to make sure that you stay in your position, and you don't even read the language to understand it, right? We think the 14th, 15th amendments and all of that supposed to apply to us, but it doesn't. Because first of all, you're not a person according to American law. You're still 3/5 of a person, right? No, there is no law that a white man has the respect of yours, right? The Casual Killing Act, where if you resist, they can kill you and it's okay. And that was from the 1600s, before America. And you can't say all of this stuff is not on the books, because they show you. And by the way, if anybody want to call in before I get off, I know this stream got interrupted. I was having technical difficulties, but the number is 804-601-4015. As I'm not gonna be on here too long, or I got messed up, so I probably have to come back and do it again tomorrow. But I've been asking, is there a law or a court ruling that actually overturned the Dred Scott case? And most of the laws were meant to protect white people, because at first, like, every white citizen was forced to be on the slave patrol. But in like 1837 or something like that, when the first federal agents, they were meant to be a part of the slave patrol. In the case like Priggs versus something, I don't know. I can't forget. I forget the name right now. But that case just made it federal to go hunt slaves, so that no particular state can stop it. So they can just kidnap you and take you whenever you want. And this is the same federal government that we argue with each other about. One that has been designed to destroy us, right? We, as a group of people, and we probably heard of it, but we need to really actually study manifest destiny, right? Well, they said, okay, God gave us the right to take this land, whether we have to kill, enslave, or whatever the people. Now, when I say study white supremacy, I'm saying study for liberation. David Walker, yeah, yeah, I was he did the appeal to the people. If I'm not mistaken, he ended up dead like a year later, at like the age of 30 or something. Might have been somebody else, but yeah, definitely Walker, David Walker. But the thing is, it's been countless people from every generation saying the same thing over and over. It's just the fact that we have the same argument because each time in history, that generation's information gets washed out on purpose. There's a reason why they used to poke your eyes out for reading. This is a country that has had multiple slave owning presidents in office and one quote unquote black president in history. And as soon as he's elected, the next one is Donald Trump. And by the way, that quote unquote black president, because we like symbols, they always give us symbols, but we are afraid to ask for tangibles, but symbols seem to be good enough for us. That first black president couldn't even say he was black. He had to apologize because he said Trayvon Martin would look like him. And he would. When he talked about reparations, he had to talk about building schools in South Carolina for everybody. But when he talked about reparations for Jewish people, he talked about how Holocaust was the worst event in history and how they deserve every cent. Now, America helped in during the Holocaust. They helped the Jewish people and they gave them reparations. Now, Black Wall Street in itself, Rosewood in itself, right? We could go on and on and on and on and on. The Wilmington riot in 1898, right? We can name each generation. We can name the Highway Act. All of these things individually was a Holocaust in itself. But America has to use certain language. And there's a reason why they kept us illiterate for as long as they have. In America, we have been not able to, it has been illegal longer for us to read than it has for us to go to public school. But now we are in a position where we can educate ourselves, we can educate our children, and we can do the things that we have to do. Well, yeah, I mean, black people may be scared to die, but I mean, I guess what you're afraid of, you attract because we're sure dying more than anybody else. Always say, what is there to be afraid of when I'm more afraid not to do something because, we're already in this system of white supremacy. We're killing each other over pieces of paper with presidents that would have killed us, right? They put Andrew Jackson's face on the $20 bill, right? And he waged war on not the Indians, but mostly the black people who was just trying to get freedom, right? Because before everybody was going north to Canada, they was going south to Florida. But because so many people was escaping from Georgia and South Carolina, they wanted to take the land back. And these American presidents, and it's really irrelevant about, Democratic, and I'm not even one of those people that say, the Democratic Party is the KKK, because it's not a party thing. It's an American thing. There's Democrat, Republican, both KKK from back then and now. The system of white supremacy is meant to stay thriving, and we should be mad that we have to work twice as hard and get paid even less. That is not. We shouldn't accept that. That's not acceptable. And we are the generation that's going to end this. We're going to put our children in a position where they can be successful, and we don't have any choice. Right? Most of the history, because what they don't tell you is how many successful rebellions there were. And what they don't tell you is most of the time that, the quote unquote rebels were defeated, even though Europeans always had more firepower, even though they always had more troops, they always had to use deception. They always used fake treaties. And when the person went to go meet to bargain, they would capture them under false pretenses. That's the way Europeans have always worked. So what makes you think that something automatically changed since what, 2004? I mean, we're still dealing with the fallout from the crack epidemic. Here's a group of people that funded a small war selling crack mostly to our people, right? And we had enough money to fund that small war, right? And then not only did they make money selling it, on the back end, they made a $1 billion industry locking black people up for it, because that's when the private prisons became a thing in the 80s, where they started signing contracts for it. So they're selling you the crack, making a killing, and then locking you up for it, making wealth. That's American politics. And the question has always been, what are we going to do with the Negroes? Well, the thing is, are we going to ever answer the question for ourselves? What are we going to do? When is enough enough? When are you going to be tired of waiting 4 more years? We just have to do this one thing right now. Or this other group is in danger that has never helped us before and will leave us high and dry. But we have to put our capes on for them. But when you start saying, well, what about us? Then people start, oh, Lord, I don't know about that now. And a lot of these stories do get confused because there's so many of them. But I believe it's like the Denmark VC rebellion in Richmond, Virginia. You know, he got so many slaves ready, but the night of the rebellion, it started raining hard. And, I can hear the people now saying, oh, Lord, that's a sign from God. We better not go do nothing. And of course, somebody went back and told. And, this brother didn't give them anything, right? They wanted to make him beg and plead, because that's what they like to do, is break down our leaders and define our own leaders and give us people like Kamala Harris, who will have no problem locking us up, will have no problem
holding down white supremacy, because that's what the system is designed to do, to keep going, to keep perpetual slavery. That was the whole point of the system. It wasn't to enslave a generation, it was perpetual servitude. Right. And anybody who want to call in, your number is right there on the screen, 804 601 4015. We had some technical difficulties earlier, so static. I guess I'm still having difficulties. Right? We are, electing the very people that you're protesting against. But we also called Bill Clinton the first black president, right? The person who the law when it, who signed the law, right? Bill Clinton got his claim to fame going after a black woman, sister soldier, in '92 because of the LA riots, and she said black people deserve to stand up for themselves. And of course, Bill Clinton condemned that and made his claim to fame, but they've always used certain political people because we've allowed that though. Just like we say, Kamala Harris is a black woman, so I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. Well, would you say, Sheriff David Clark is a black man, so I'm going to vote for him? Or place any person who you would like to say. Candace Owens is a black woman, so would you have voted for Joe Biden because she's a black woman? It's time for us to start saying, I voted for them because they had a black agenda, right? And not just stop us from being killed by the police, of course, but an economic agenda, agenda for liberation. But America will never give you liberation. They won't even give their own liberation, right? They tell black people to get off the Democratic plantation, but the whole time they're on the Republican plantation themselves. They're being used just like we're being used. But they sold them on the idea of whiteness, and they learned how to get on code. And we have to learn how to get on code. Right? And I'm not really sure about the static. I got I'm on Wi-Fi right now, so I should be good. I don't know, but I'm not gonna be on here too much longer. But me personally, I'm not as hard on as people who you would call coons because I see it as really Stockholm syndrome. They have a mental illness, right? They are victims of the system, like all of us are, and we all have some form of Stockholm syndrome. It happens. But we cannot let our leaders be picked for us first and foremost. It doesn't even matter what their history or any of that is. We cannot let our enemy pick our leaders because that's what they've always done. Anytime somebody has gone against them in their system, they have went in and taken them out. Right? You got people like Patrice Lumumba who stood up to them and they had to take them out. And you can name leaders, leader after leader after leader. And it's easy for them to bring up Martin Luther King today, but Martin Luther King got shot in the face. Martin Luther King got arrested so many times, right? Martin Luther King started talking about that money. So don't you ever let anybody use our ancestors' struggle because they shed so much blood, so much tears. They put so much energy into getting us into the place that we are in. Right? I talk about people like Ida B. Wells, but it's countless people. And we can't be happy with just the breadcrumbs, right? Because if this was a toxic relationship, you're being breadcrumb right now and gaslighted. I mean, how many treaties does it take them violating for us to learn, right? The last time, well, we'll give you affirmative action, and then they give that to white women, and then be the very white woman complaining about affirmative action, saying it gives us more opportunities, when really it was meant for white women. But we aren't aware enough politically, and we just roll with whatever titles and labels or whatever they throw out. But we can create our own language. We can create our own titles. We can do whatever we want to do. That's the part that we have to realize. We aren't limited to whatever they offer us. It's not whatever we can choose between what they give us. We can do whatever we want to do. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the static, but well, I'm on my phone. That's why I was like, it shouldn't be a problem. I got I'm on Wi-Fi. It just gotta be YouTube. Yeah, my email address, the forecast radio at gmail.com. Yeah, all of our information is in the description. But I'm not gonna be on here too much longer because there's a lot of technical difficulties going on today. But like I said, there is no point of being afraid. I'm more afraid not to do something because the same thing is gonna keep happening over and over and over anyway. Right? All those people, the person that traded on Denmark VC, right? They gave him, his freedom, right? They gave him like $200. But guess what? His legacy is still in perpetual servitude. And we have to realize we aren't any different. Other groups fight each other. The French, the British, the Spanish, the Dutch, they all fought each other. But what they did was learn how to get on code for white supremacy. Yeah, Michael X, right? That's somebody who they kind of quietly removed out of history. They aren't talking about him too much. Right? And we are afraid to say his name. But this is the same country that dropped an atomic bomb on somebody. This is the same country that goes in and destabilizes governments. Same country that I think it was even Hillary Clinton that went into Haiti and told them they couldn't even export their own stuff and took the land, even though, white people aren't supposed to get land in Haiti, especially slave owners. Right. Because they'll show George Floyd on TV over and over and over, but they won't show Michael Johnson because they know imagery is a powerful thing. But always remember, I'm not telling you anything different than what George Washington told America. And they put his face on the mountain. And if we want to take anything from America, anything that's American, it's called self-defense. Right? America, Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or give me death. But let me say that in 2020, and they'll say it's terroristic. But they are their heroes. These are the American, the founding fathers of America. These criminals, thugs. And time again, Black people have never retaliated with the same energy. Time and time again. And most of these rebellions, even during the Haitian Revolution, all of these rebellions, they said, don't go out and just kill innocent white folk. Right? They may have killed slave owners. And I'm not saying that some people didn't kill, but they said defend yourself. They didn't say go and attack and take over. And another brother in 1900 kind of did the same thing that Michael Johnson did. He Robert Smith, I think, I forget his name, but in 1900, you know, uh, look up riots from 1900. But I know the year was 1900. But this brother and another brother was sitting on the porch waiting for their date, and they just happened to be in a white neighborhood, and so two white cops roll up, asking them, of course, profiling them, like telling them, why are you supposed to be here? Now this brother stood up for himself and said, I have a right to be here. Now he wasn't breaking any laws or anything like that, but he said I had a right to be here. But of course, the cop, being racist, tried to violate his rights, and the brother actually fought back and killed the cop. Now, the story is like this. Um, yeah, oh yeah, I didn't put the description in there before we get off here. Um, but yeah, this brother, he actually shot back and killed the cop. Now, of course, he was wanted, and somebody eventually sold him out. But this brother ended up killing 20 some, at least shooting 20 some people, including like 12 or 13 cops, killing them before they finally got him. Right? But nobody really talks about his history either. But that's why we have to start learning our history. That's why we have to start teaching ourselves. First of all, learning history for ourselves, and then teaching our kids. Because even if you're sending your kids to their schools, you still have to educate them. Yeah, that's the right email, the Forecast Talk Radio. Yeah, that's it. Let me put the information in here. But that's the whole reason why we have to study our history, because time and time again, we have done what we had to do, but we only see the failures. We only see what they want us to see. Well, we have to start seeing what our ancestors have really done to get us in this position, because The truth is, 100 years ago, I would have been lynched for saying the same thing that I'm saying right now. And that's the information should be in there right now. So yeah, make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio to Forecast. New material should be coming up in another day or two. It takes me a while to get it up, but and the email is definitely on there. And YouTube likes to take down my videos, so that's why I try to live premiere them. But I gotta definitely find another way to get the videos out, even if I gotta start some kind of mailing list. But the video is just so big, I don't know. I'll figure something out. Yeah, the thing is, we're all their top enemy. We're all their target, right? And they created the FBI to stop the rise of the Black Messiah, right? But the Black Messiah isn't one person; it's an energy, right? We're all the Black Messiah. Black Messiah is Black unity. When we get on code, and the code, just like when those crazy white women are out there wilding out. Yeah, it's a Forecast Talk Radio at Gmail. That's right. Yeah, that's my bad. But yeah, it's in the description too. But the enemy is always gonna make you think that the person for you isn't for you, and the person that's against you is for you. We have to start learning how to be for ourselves, right? That crazy white woman that's always wilding in these videos, when it comes down to it, right? They're gonna crowd around her, especially if it's a Black person holding her or something, or it's an incident with a Black person. They're gonna crowd around her. They're gonna make sure she's okay, right? They're gonna make sure no harm comes to her, no matter what she does. We have to start doing that for each other, and especially when they come in our communities and harm our children. If that's not enough to get on code and do what we have to do, then I don't know what it's gonna take. But I appreciate all of y'all for listening. We had a lot of issues going on today, but I'll be back soon. I'm gonna try to start working on the video, right? And the thing is, we're believing that it'll be one person, but it cannot be one person. It's all of us. And when we get on code, the system of white supremacy will automatically be destroyed, because white supremacy can only be defined by Black inferiority. And when we stop co-signing, then they have nothing they can hang their hats on. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. And it's time for us to put aside our petty tribal differences and do what we have to do. And right now, we want to vote. We can vote on the most successful Black business people and put them on the council strictly for funding and helping grow Black businesses, right? And of course, make sure they stay transparent. Of course, make sure that we're still in charge, because these groups can be easily infiltrated if we aren't prepared. But we can all be donating to these groups, whether it's $1, a million, or a time to work. We are all our only hope. And the only reason why I can do this is because I have faith in our people. I know that we won't let each other down at the end of the day. It may seem grim at times, but especially when you look at history, most of that history has been us doing what we have to do. And I can only do this by having faith.
and everybody else, because I can't do it on my own. You can't do it on your own. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. And, we can have this committee and we can all donate, whether it be $1, $1 million, or whatever. And they'll put businesses in our community and we'll support them. And in return, they'll hire us and give us jobs. We can do so many things right now to rebuild our communities and do what we have to do. And it doesn't have anything to do with voting or being part of the system. But, I appreciate it, man. Much love to all of y'all for coming through. Much respect, man. Hopefully the next video will be done soon. There's a lot of work to go into these videos. It takes a long time. So hopefully I'll be on there. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.